Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Another day of absolutely fantastic CDL matches here from start to finish, but to be fair, some big storylines in terms of which of these teams might need to make changes on ASAP. Some disaster classes on display, some master classes on display elsewhere. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. This was after the FaZe Vegas series yesterday. We looked at this tweet. I didn't actually see at the time Purge's reply, which was as follows, kind of implying that, yeah, good luck guys. You dropped me, this is what you get. And maybe today was another such example. Speaking of a scene, we'll get into their series in a second. We've got to talk about some drama in challenges because this was kind of popping off today. Firstly, 104 days since the first cup, and that is the only challenge event, or the only challenge event that has been paid out is the Boston Open, and not everyone's been paid for that either. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't exactly know who's responsible for this. I presume it's CDL side. I don't know what the usual kind of time frame is for getting paid for tournaments. You'd think that, you know, net 30, net 60 and a maximum would probably be the way to go. But no, it's been, you know, nigh on 3-4 months now since these events, and as the team says, haven't been paid for the Boston Open or the first cup either. So yeah, these guys, they're still waiting for that money, baby. I don't know when it's going to be arriving. I don't know where the budget is. We know that they're giving all this money back to these teams, but maybe they can't find anybody to pay the challengers guys, because it's all good having an elite, which is a $75,000 prize for the winner or whatever it is, 75k money on the line for the elite stage. And if they don't have the money, it's not really a good look for anyone. Now, another bad look for challengers here was on the forfeits that we're going through, because notable teams today were getting forfeited straight out of the tournament. Well, as Ben Bant says, you're a sad gimp, LMAO, don't ever tweet me again, moron. And, you know, this is coming out of this guy's sieve. So, as they say, GG's Team War, we won our series for top 16. Never stop believing. GG's Afro Bant F. Harry, maybe next time. Now, what happened here is the same, I believe, as what's happened in North America, is that certain teams have been playing on different Activision IDs than they actually, you know, have listed on their Fated account. Of course, challenges this year's on Faceit rather than on Game Battles as it previously was. So this also affected RCTs and Co. They were forfeited out top 32 in the Cup 8 due to this forfeit, and the guys on the other team were absolutely not willing to back down. The drama really around this, though, is the fact that RCT says that they made this request a while ago. This isn't necessarily a case of the players just forgetting to change something and then crying when they don't do it right. Like, the players have been asking Faceit, apparently, to sort this problem for a while. Now, all of a sudden, they turn up to come and say, oh, well, guess what? You've got the wrong Activision ID. We're going to forfeit you. And you're like, hang on a second. We told you guys to fix it, and you haven't. What is going on? The other team will say, fantastic, give us the free win, let's lock it down. So this was the drama really, and obviously the team that beat them was like, yep, we keep on rolling, top 16, 3-0'd those guys straight out of the venue. Of course, they never even played the series, but they got the 3-0 dub, and this guy, Cobby Jr., says, top 16, rules are rules. So, you know, I almost respect the level of pettiness here in some level. At the same time, it's also like, he's probably not making it that far in the tournament, is he? And obviously he's getting clowned on. And if this guy wants to make it as a pro, he's burned a few bridges with players that he might want to potentially team with in the future. So, you know, you've got to think that maybe playing fair, because theoretically those teams could have said, all right, sure, they've got the wrong Activision ID. We could have tried to get the forfeit win, but let's just play it out. But of course, if they play it out, they're probably going to lose. So why not take the free win? And maybe understandably so, but I'm not sure that it works out for the best in the long run doing this. There was, of course, some debate here between Benji Nassim and RCTs and what happened, because as Ben says, unpopular take, but you know, there's crazy challengers groupthink on this app. Banking on getting a one-time reprieve for you not following the rules is not a smart strategy. At some point, Faceit, we're going to crack down on people mismatching their accounts. But as RCT says, I tried to fix it, I talked to them, and I got ignored before last elite. Now, maybe they could have tried harder, maybe RCTs could have, you know, sent an email every couple of hours before it got resolved, but at the end of the day, if he tried to get it fixed, they didn't fix it, and then they're now forfeiting him for not fixing it. It's not really a great look for all parties. So big drama, as is usually the case, and we're going to swiftly move on from this tweet because we have some matches to discuss. New York Subliners versus the Las Vegas Legion, a series that, I'm not going to lie, would have been interesting a month or so ago. But since the change, it is not particularly interesting. Kismet was shooting bodies very swiftly into the series. aBeZy at this point had no kills. And yeah, aBeZy's POV is just really rough to watch at the moment. Like, he's just not shooting straight a lot of the time. He's obviously not having much impact. His hill time numbers are also kind of like non-existent, to be honest. It's not like he's doing crazy objective work. He did get a streak during this game at one point, but yeah, it's been ugly, right? Purge, obviously, they get rid of him. They make the change for aBeZy. And on paper, it's like, sure, give it a go. Purge was underperforming. I did think the decision to like drop him was classic Vegas Legion, but not necessarily the wisest idea, in the same way that when Los Angeles Thieves made the change with Afro and JoeDeceives, they kept Joe on the bench, then they brought him back in. Vegas could have said, all right, we're going to try aBeZy, because they had no time to really trial aBeZy. They had played 2 games. They decided, all right, enough's enough. We're going to make the roster change. Purge gets dropped, despite having won a series just a few days before and played, you know, pretty well and was getting better during Stage 2. Now, during Stage 2, they did play weaker teams, but they played weaker teams, and sure, than they're playing now. But they played those weaker teams far better and more cohesively, and they were getting gas from the community and from pros. Pros were saying, yeah, when we play Vegas in scrims, Purge Vegas, they were, you know, a respectable team. They knew what they were doing. They were making the right plays on the map at times, and it was helping them be competitive with the top teams and beat the teams below them they needed to beat. Now, sure, they're playing the better teams, but they're getting bodied so hard that it just doesn't really matter. And this game 1, Geo was on another level. Like, and we talked about this. Since aBeZy joined the team, what's it done to Geo? Has it been aBeZy's joined and therefore Geo's struggling for whatever reason? Or has Geo also fallen off and therefore it's not really aBeZy's fault? We're seeing examples that Geo can still play well. I mean, he was unbelievably frying this game. He tied the kill record in Hardpoint with 43. Went 43 and 23. 33 non-traded kills. Well over 6k damage for the loss. Subliners won the game anyway, and this is what Octane was saying, like, wow, that is diabolical work from the teammates on his team, and yeah, it was ugly, this one across the board. We then go to a search and destroy. aBeZy didn't drop a donut tier, but still didn't have a great map of search. It was 6-4 in the end for the Subliners, and then the final map of the series was also not particularly good. And as Money Hill Stat says, aBeZy, having played now, 12 maps for the Las Vegas Legion, is yet to go positive in 1. And his numbers here again were pretty ugly. This was the control. It was 1-1, but shortly after this, it was GG. So Subliners and Vegas, it was a series that, as I say, a while ago, this might have been competitive. It was not competitive today, and I just don't know where Vegas go from here other than reverting the change, at least in part. Vivid isn't playing right now, we don't think, but he did tweet out today saying that things are starting to go well for him again, which is great to hear. So maybe Vivid will be back in the scene relatively soon. It's certainly a possibility. Put Nero and Vivid back together. They had a decent run on Boston, you know, last year, so something to at least consider. And as aBeZy says, haven't been able to get comfortable with the team yet, and it shows. Optimistic that we can make it work, but I just don't know if you know, he's good enough right now, or like this is some of the worst card I've seen aBeZy play, or whether the team will actually give him the time. Because yes, they've played good teams. They've played FaZe, they've played OpTic, they've played Subliners, but the fact that they've got 3-0'd in all of those, and 3-0'd by Surge. I mean, 12 map losses in a row. aBeZy had less kills map 1 than Geo did, or less kills over the course of the entire series than Geo did map 1. Geo had a 1.4 in the end, aBeZy with a 0.6. Like, it's just so ugly, right? I don't see what they do other than partially reverse the change. I don't think they're going to get Purge back. They could, right? It's possible. Purge might say yes, he might say no. But the longer that they don't do anything here, the more risk they take of genuinely not making it to champs, despite looking basically nailed on before they made this move. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting storyline to watch for the coming days, whether Vegas do something else. I'm sure we'll talk about it going forward. Ravens, though, they played FaZe. This was another series where Clay was not with the guys in Charlotte yet. I believe Clay said after the series, this is the final one that will be the case for, and after this, he will be with the rest of the guys in North Carolina. Clay fried game 1, and it nearly was enough for them to win. Clay and Gwyn had great maps here, but in the end, it was just too good for FaZe. It was close, but no cigar. I will say for Ravens, they played FaZe much more competitively here than any team has for a little while. Maybe not any team has, but just compare that FaZe Toronto series to this FaZe Ravens series. It was, you know, this was actually interesting to watch, which was, you know, quite something to say. Ravens are winning this entire game. Like, this will be frustrating for them that they literally led from the off until the third rotation, basically, and then they lost right at the death on that P1. So it was nice ice from FaZe. I mean, we've seen this plenty of times already this season from FaZe, that when they're kind of in that predicament, they do tend to find a way to win. Ravens, honestly, it was very close. So fair play to them, and they win the Surge. FaZe, I don't think, had lost a Surge this stage, which is kind of remarkable, but they hadn't. They lost one here. They went down 4-0, then Ravens, they brought it back to like 5-4, whatever it was, and then Ravens actually clutched and won the round 11. So fair play to Carolina, because their Search and Destroy has been improving. They've done quite a few Uzis lately where they have a really hot start in Search. They don't always win it, but and FaZe nearly made the comeback. But then the respawns came through, and Ravens, they like playing this high-rise control. But the frustrating thing is, watching, is that they're not very good at it. They never really have been. And FaZe are probably the best high-rise control team in the game. So this one was over rather swiftly. And then it was a Vista hardpoint, and Clay had a rough time here. So the map 3, map 4 is kind of tough for Clay, because he had a great map 1 and was looking to be, wow, Clay's back or whatever. And Gwyn was trying his best for the rest of the series, and Clay was getting hawked on map 3, map 4. So again, Clay's record versus the Tiny Terrors ceases, well, continues to be not especially good. And as Clay says, kind of a full consistent series. But the last match not in the facility, I think Clay plays better when he's around his boys, and hopefully that's going to be the case from next weekend and going forward. Not exactly sure what happened, that Clay was there, then he was not there again, so he's still not there, and they're losing matches, but hopefully when Clay's back we get a better performance all around. But it wasn't embarrassing today from these guys, to be fair, and Ravens were getting Clay was getting kind of roasted by the FaZe social media, who I'm not going to lie have done a pretty special job so far this season. This also from Zinni on Money Hill Stats. TJ is now 0 in 17 versus FaZe in his CDL career. So MettalZ did not miss a chance to absolutely put the dagger in. And yes, we see here a pretty comfortable dub in the end for the FaZe boys. Drazah not with his best series, but it doesn't matter. These guys are too good. Another masterclass from Gwyn, by the way, drops 91 with a 1.18, but wasn't enough because the ARs weren't really shooting back, especially in the final couple of maps. That may be different once Clayster is back with the boys, but we've also got to talk about this OpTic series because they played Guerrillas. This was the one that I thought could be interesting, and I will say it certainly was interesting. This was, again, not a clean series for OpTic. They win it. Their record against the bottom 4 teams, or the bottom 8 teams, sorry, remains, I think, 18-1 now OpTic this season against the teams they should be beating. The only one they lost to was Miami right earlier on in the season. Every other game they've played against a bottom 8 team, they've won, which is impressive. But they've not been absolutely crushing them lately, and I definitely think there is a fair few things for OpTic to work on. I know that they know, well, you know, it's just online cheese and whatever, but it does pay to try and be as clinical as possible, and they haven't really been lately. They've been getting bailed out by moments like this. They probably, you know, they very easily could have lost game 1, but Shotzzy flies in, Dolphin dives into the water, gets 1, gets 2, and this basically wins his team the game. Like, single-handedly, Shotzzy just dived in here, got a 2-piece that he had no business getting, and win his team the game. The funny thing is as well, actually, if this goes on to continue, is that the Guerrillas guys decide, well, there's no way we can beat Shotzzy 1v1 in the water, so we're going to send the entire crew down there. 3 of them jump into the water. Shotzzy still gets 1, and in the end it was enough for OpTic to trade these out and close out the game. But single-handedly there, Shotzzy making that 1 play. Now, Dashy had an unreal game in this search, by the way. This guy was unkillable. 2 pieces, 3 pieces, whatever it takes. Shotzzy went down here, but look at that. The nade goes down on DiamondCon, gets the trade. Dashy ends up in a 1 versus 2 here, and a disgusting 1 versus 2 at that. I mean, look at this. Dashy 1 versus 2. Flames versus Fame. Gets 1. Fame challenges, and he beams in with the Renetti. I mean, this is disgusting. This Renetti is unreal, by the way, but hitting those shots is, you know, it takes something to hit those shots. Whether it should be possible to pull that off, that's another debate. And as Parasite says, the Renetti kills faster than the MCW at range. But look, Dashy did not miss. He got another 1v2. He now leads the league in 1v2s at 8 so far this season, which is very impressive, of course. And he closed out the game 13-5, 2 first bloods, 2k damage, 1v2. And that's job done for Dashy and those guys. The question is, could they close out a 3-0? Guerrillas are actually pretty okay. They are not a terrible team. They have been better since the acquisition of Flames. I think they're honestly in a pretty decent spot right now, Guerrillas, to potentially even make it to the World Championship. There are certainly teams that are far worse than them, but they couldn't win, or they did win, sorry, the Guerrilla side. The high-rise control, again, for some reason, put OpTic in a winnable position on high-rise control. they struggled to win it. The defenses reigned supreme for the start, and then they went to a round 5, and I mean, it was another one of these weird round 5s where they had a life disadvantage, they had their opportunities, but they just got traded in inopportune moments and just died. I mean, there was one actual frag, right, that came through and got a couple of kills. I think it was Shotzzy teammated 2 of his own boys. They didn't have the lives remaining. They lose the game 3, so some things to tighten up there for OpTic, because this is the type of series that FaZe will like always 3-0, if you know what I'm saying, whereas OpTic kind of have it in them to not necessarily do that. And when you don't 3-0, all of a sudden you give the other team momentum and you allow them to potentially come back and win the game. This game 4 was a pretty big time bottle from Guerrillas. They had a nice healthy lead here on the Karachi, a good map for OpTic for sure, but a map that they will feel like Guerrillas, in hindsight, they most certainly could have won. These final couple of hills were very interesting, right, because Shotzzy is in an interesting spot, gets this kill, but, you know, number 6, obviously, Fame is trying to get in position as well. He goes down, and then there's 22 seconds for the win here for OpTic. They get in the point. Number 4's trying to hold the right-hand side. Diamond comes up top, got to wait for his boys. Number 6 in Fame is coming down low to regroup. 5, though, comes through, knifes Kenny, somehow stays alive in the back here. Number 3 can't immediately get the trade, so they're doing ring around the rosy, and there's barely any time on the clock at this point, so it's an absolute mess, to be honest. And OpTic find themselves getting broken out of the point right about here. Kenny's struggling to funnel through. Like, it's absolute chaos, right? 246, 232. It's not a comfortable victory that OpTic will probably feel like they should have had. Pretty big collapse from Guerrillas to lose this, and well played for OpTic to actually clutch up. But it wasn't clean, right? And it's one of these moments they will look back on OpTic and think, wow, we probably need to clean up a couple of things. They do win the series, though. As Pred says, GG's Guerrillas win 3-1. Got to clean up a few things before Drazah, as he says. So things to take away from this weekend, but the crucial thing for OpTic being another 10 points on the board and another step closer to trying to be the only team that can beat FaZe this season. But they will need to be a little bit cleaner than this when they play up against the real top competition come the major, because last year in Toronto, OpTic Texas did not have a good event. Different team, but you know, poor results. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.